Hello and welcome everyone back to Dax Electronic Repair. We're going to be doing a Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra. It's got a broken screen. Alright, so first thing you're going to do is bake this puppy. That heats up the back. So you can get your razor blade in there and start to get that back off. It's held on with adhesive. Be careful when you do this. When you're prying, you don't really want to pry very much with the razor blade itself. It will mess with the finish. So if you scrape it the wrong way, it will take the finish off, and that's bad. So take your time, get a plastic pick in there as quick as you can, and just go all the way around. Also be careful, this is glass. If you go too fast or you pry too much, you will shatter it, and then you have to replace it. So, little business card action there, because even the pick is a little bit too much for the bending. So real slow, get the heat, 100 degrees Celsius, and slowly pry it up, and then you can go in and kind of cut it with the plastic spudger, and that's how you get the back off without damaging it. So next thing we're going to do is start taking our brackets off. We'll start at the bottom where our charging port is. There's also a pen on this one, as well as your SIM card tray. I'm not sure if I showed taking those out, but they are both on the bottom. So right now we're going to take the bracket off for the bottom daughter board. 6 screws. I always make a little pattern with them so I know exactly where they go. Sometimes they're the same, sometimes they're not. And then this bracket gets pried up. But it is connected to the top. That is your wireless charger. You can either peel the adhesive off, or, well, you saw I undid the one ribbon cable. Personally, I don't. You can do that. There's adhesive under there, and you can actually pry it up. But I just take the whole bracket off. It just makes it easier. So those screws, another 5 screws right there, and then the whole thing comes out. Remember, we took the little ribbon cable off for the wireless charging first. All right. So now battery first. Undo it. You know the drill. Don't want electricity going through it. So before we do anything else, we are going to test the new screen. In this case, I believe we went with a it's a screen and frame assembly. The customer didn't care, and the silver was in stock, whereas the purple was not. So they said they didn't care, so we ordered it in and we gave them silver. But before we do that, we have to test our new screen just to make sure it works before we transfer everything over. I like the frame and OLED assemblies better than just the OLED itself, especially on these Samsungs with this curved screens. They are very, very fragile, and if you try and just do the screen itself, it can be a disaster. And they're very, very thin, they're curved, so that's why we do that. Alright, so we're hooking up the new screen to the old everything else. Plug our battery in, and we're just going to power that on, make sure we have all the functions we need. And the new screen looks good, no dead pixels, that sort of thing. So it looks good. Pry that puppy off, and now we know we can take apart everything else and transfer it over. So that is what we will do. Alright, so we'll start at the bottom, and we're going to be taking out our daughter board. It has our charging port, as well as our SIM card reader is in the bottom there as well. Get your ribbon cables out of the way. 3 screws hold that guy in. And then you can pry up and out. It's kind of angled in, so you pry from the top. And I got it out, and I didn't record it. So we're going to use Honor System on that one. Alright, so now we're moving to the top. These phones are a little tricky because they have screws underneath brackets that you have to do in the right order. So the first thing we do is these 3 on the very top holds that bracket in, which holds all of our front, our microphone and things like that, ear speaker. And we just go ahead, get a little, it'll pop out. There is one ribbon cable there. Make sure to take that off, so you don't yank on it and break it. And as you can see, there is another screw underneath there that we need to get, and there's one right over there to get our camera assembly out. Kind of group everything with the component you took out. Do it in an order where you remember where everything goes. I'm just getting all these other ribbon cables out of the way. They're pretty self-explanatory. The main board is the top board, the sub board is the bottom board, or motherboard and daughter board, however you want to say it, but that's how they're labeled. Alright, 2 more screws. And then we can get our top board out, or our main board, after we take a couple different ribbon cable assemblies out. 1, 2, and 3, 4, and the battery's already out, so that's good. Alright, same deal with this one. You're going to pry up from the bottom, kind of give it a wiggle, watch your cables, make sure they're not caught, make sure they're not breaking, and then you can pull it up and out. Remember, you still got your camera cable in there as well, so just be careful. Put that aside. And then we're going to go ahead and get the other components off of this old phone screen. Oh, there's one more screw there for our ear speaker assembly. Now this that's the front facing camera that is glued in with a rubber type glue adhesive type stuff, kind of like a caulking. So to get that out, you're going to need to give it some heat. And there we go. 100 degrees Celsius, hot enough to make it so we can get that thing out of there, but not too hot where it damages our components. Once you do that, you can start prying. Once it's ready to go, it'll start moving. Don't force it, you will break the camera. all the sides, and eventually it will be, yep, there it comes. All right. And here's our new frame assembly. We're going to go ahead and start assembling that. We haven't taken everything off the old board, but since it's layered like that with screws on top of screws on brackets and things, I just go ahead and start putting everything back where it was as quickly as possible. That just makes it so there's no confusion or screws going in the wrong places. Little piece of plastic covering the cameras and such. So the pen holder you can see there on the very bottom, we don't switch that over. That's, you can see the one on the old one as well. New frame assembly comes with it. Alright, and here's a couple components that we did not take from the old one yet. These sensors right here are adhesive. This one came up pretty easily. Sometimes you need heat. And then there's a similar one on the top of the battery right there that is held in with 2 screws. And then that is everything from this old screen assembly, aside from the battery that we will be reusing. This one, you just go underneath the little tabs and it pries right out. Alright, so new assembly. Remember, it is silver, but it is the same. Alright, that one just goes straight back in. The adhesive was fine, so we just reused it. Now we can go ahead and put the main board back in. Careful, don't touch those cameras, or the customer will have blurry, or you will have blurry pictures, and no one likes that. So with this, you gotta kind of walk it around and make sure you know where all your ribbon cables are and that they are all on top. Yeah, see that guy? And there's another one over on the side, but we gotta make sure all of them are routing to where they actually live. And so they can connect properly. Alright. Now we will start putting everything back where it goes. Front facing camera. The new frame assembly has some adhesive already there, so we don't have to worry about that. Then we got our bracket. It has a ribbon cable too, don't forget to do that. Get all your screws back in. It's also a very thick motherboard. I think it's like 3 or 4 layers, but it's very interesting. All right, so we're putting our sensor back in. Sorry, not a very good shot of that, but what's interesting is on this, it is a Samsung official screen, but it doesn't have holes to screw that sensor back in, so we're actually just going to make an adhesive strip for it. Anyway, here is our daughter board, and we are just slide it back in the same way it came out. Put our 3 screws back in. And then our final piece from our old screen is our battery. Go slow, peel up. Use heat if you need. Do not bend the battery or puncture the battery. You will have fire and you will have a bad time. There's a couple strips of double-sided tape to hold it down. You don't have to go as crazy as what the factory did. They just had more, but it's not as sticky. So make sure it sticks. Make sure it's centered and the cable can reach its destination. Alright, there's our screen. You can see it says display on it. These will only go in one place, so you can't really mess it up. There's arrows going up. They say main. It says sub on it and main. One says UB, which is short for sub. And there's that sensor. And yeah, there's no screw holes in this frame, so I can't put the screws back in, so we're gonna work with what we have, and instead of trying to tap screw, that's not, no, we're not gonna do that. Back's gonna hold it on, and the adhesive will hold it on as well. Alright, so now our battery we are going to plug into our board, if I can even do it. Come on, buddy. Come on. It's a little, oh, here we go. Alright. Just another power test. I want to make sure it is not doing anything that we don't want it to before we put the final screws in. And it's not. So power it off, unplug the battery to power it off, and it is now acceptable enough to put our last main bracket on with our wireless charging coil, as well as, well, there's two different things on that. I'm not sure what the other one is. No, there isn't. There's just one. I'm sorry. Wireless charging coil. No, there is 2. Okay. Yeah, there's 2. All right. But yes, also make sure your battery's plugged in before you do that, which I forgot briefly, and here we are. All right. 2 ribbon cables need to be put where they go, and then screws go in. All 11 of them. Yeah, 6 plus 5 is 11, maybe. Who cares? Put all your screws back where they go. Then the final step is to put your pen back in. Oh, nope, SIM card tray. Again, it's purple. Didn't care. And a purple pen. And finally, put the back on. The proper adhesive on it. Make it look real nice and pretty. Make sure it is level and form-fitting. And you did it. You just did your job. Good job. Thank you so much for checking out my video. Please like, subscribe, and comment. And again, thank you for watching. I love you all.